Hey guys, welcome back to Quick Notes with Chris. Today we're going to be talking about the book The Secrets, specifically what it talks about, how you can start applying some of the things that it's talking about and actually start benefiting and hopefully increasing your personal success in it. A very controversial book. A lot of people either strongly agree, strongly disagree. I'm one of those people who is on a happy medium where I understand the psychological effects as well as the possibility of what it is talking about. So, to break it down a little bit, it's essentially the law of attraction. It's the things that your thoughts that you think about and things that you speak will speak things into existence, specifically the positive as well as the negative. Now, I understand if this is the first time you're hearing about this phenomenon, it might be a little bit different. It's definitely the first way that I sort of heard about it. But essentially, the book goes on to talk about how our mind is a broadcasting station, and we're constantly on a receiving rod towards the universe. And in terms of like not understanding exactly how complex the human mind is, but what we think out, what we send vibrations out into the universe is what we receive in towards essentially our life. Now, there's a lot of conflicting evidence supporting it, but generally what it's talking about is speaking things to an existence. Now, that is undeniably definitely a positive whenever it comes to getting a level of success. If you look at any strong-minded individual who's very driven, they definitely are one of those people who knew that they were going to be successful before they ever were successful. And that is a philosophy I 100% can get behind, and you should definitely start applying in your life straight away in order to start getting results. Now, if you're thinking about positive thoughts, this is how the logical breakdown starts to work. So your conscious mind basically affects your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is actively going to affect your life. That's a cycle that it's far more agreeable. For example, if you're constantly thinking about money, right, subconsciously your mind is going to be programmed to think of ways on how to attain it, right, which will then affect your physical life. Now that type of cycle there is undeniable. It is actually something that I very much subscribe to a day. But on the further that, looking in the mirror before you every single day, at the start of every morning, is saying the things that you want to accomplish, by default is going to heavily enhance the chances of you having a more productive day. So there are definitely a lot of very, 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 beneficial ways that you can put into your life to make sure that you are actually successful and start applying this law of attraction in order to get this. Now, the book goes on to talk specifically about dominant thoughts. Dominant thoughts are the thoughts that are leading you in the direction that you want to be in, and how if you can control your dominant thoughts, keep it in the front of your mind versus the back, meaning that it's not something that's put in the back corner, it is the number one thing that you want to achieve. You will basically resonate that out into the universe, and the universe will give onto you what you vibrate out. So it talks about how as much as important it is to stay in positive thinking, actively have a dominant thought of positivity, be careful not to fall into negative thoughts. If you've ever had someone who's had a bad day, or if you personally have had the worst day on earth, it actually ended up stemming from that very first initial step. If you walked out of the house and you stepped in a substance that you're not necessarily happy for, and then from there it just starts compounding. That's because of that initial first reaction, you have a negative dominant thought. Now that negative dominant thought is going to actively be resonating into the universe, which will resonate back and reflect exactly what it is you're broadcasting to. Now I understand that is a little bit complicated, a little bit different, but the book goes on to explain it a little bit further, talking about how as beknownst to us, humans are the most intelligent creatures that we know. And on top of that, understanding the human brain as is already incredibly complex. In fact, there's a lot of quotes saying that we haven't even fully understand it yet. And basically, there's certain aspects of the human mind, certain aspects of the human brain that we haven't fully been able to unlock. Now, I'll go as far as to say is that something that the law of attraction cannot be done and cannot be activated without the law of that action. If you ever had anyone who's made $1 million or anything like that in the lottery, they had to go out and buy the ticket. Basically, what I'm trying to say is you have to put yourself in the position to potentially succeed. You can't lock yourself in a room and dream of things all day and expect that to happen. You would probably just end up being a crazy person. Okay, but if you put yourself actively in positions to succeed, or having a positive mindset of belief, believing that you do deserve and are deserving and expect to win, of course that's going to by default increase your chances of success. If you look at any successful person across history, chances are, I'll just argue, about 99% of people ended up entering the race, ended up entering the competition thinking that they would win. Right? They understood what they wanted, settled for what they got, but they definitely thought of themselves as a winner. And that's definitely a mindset that you can adopt, especially when talking about the law of attraction. Now, takeaways. Number one, always combine with the law of action. The law of attraction will never work if you're just thinking about it and there's no action behind it. You have to put yourself in a position where you're actually willing to receive the opportunity that your mind has its sights set on, all right? Without that, of course, you're never going to move forward. To break it down a little bit more logically, I know I hit on it already, but I'm going to talk it out a little bit further. Okay, your conscious mind basically is your active thoughts. So these things that you actively talk about. Your subconscious mind is basically something that you don't have direct control of. Meaning you can't directly control it, but only through a long extended period of times of conscious thought. Now, basically, your subconscious mind is arguably 10,000 times more powerful than your conscious mind. And basically, I think that if whatever you have on your mind, whatever you actively want to achieve, it's seen as a fact that your brain will somehow find a way of achieving it. Especially seeing as though you have opportunities that are going to get you there. I already talked about money, but there's a lot of different ones as well. For example, let's say you're wanting to start a family. If that's the number one thing on top of the mind, that's your dominant thought, your brain is going to be actively looking for ways in order to start a family, whether it's looking towards developing relationships with a significant other, whether it's looking towards developing the relationship that you already have, or putting things in certain places. This is how human minds work. Okay, so based on that, if you orientate your dominant thought to something that you're more conscious about, for example, let's say success, developing your business, increasing your relationships around you, by default, that's going to affect your subconscious mind, which means that you're now thinking about it at an uncontrollable level, which means that you're going to be subconsciously actively searching for ways to achieve the dominant thought that you want. Now, it's very careful because you have to basically make sure that it's constantly on your mind. That's the first step. A lot of rituals talk about starting your daily routine off with, like a chant. You look yourself in the mirror and you say, I am the best, I am worthy, I am going to. It's nothing that's I think. It's all about I am. So it's already been accomplished. You're speaking out into the universe that you've already accomplished something. I am successful. You talk about the things that you want to be rather than things that you're potentially looking towards. You speak it in a definitive manner, and the book says that you vibrate that out into the universe, and that will actually bring it in. Now, I understand that for anyone who has never heard this concept before, that sounds crazy. There's a lot of non-believers, but look, what actually harm do you have? Because the placebo effect is a definitive thing. So a placebo effect basically means that you can trick your mind into believing something that will work, which then will enhance your results. Now, there's so many tests that prove that has worked, so that is an undeniable point. So doing something like this, by default, will increase your positive mindset towards believing that you are worthy of the things that you're looking out to achieve. So, the takeaways from this book that I got, you have nothing to lose. That's the number one thing for anyone who's skeptical. If you do believe it, make sure that you're doing these morning chants. Something that is undeniably true is connecting your conscious to your subconscious, making your mind think about it consistently. There is no way that is not going to affect your success. There is a lot more to it and a lot more personal examples. So I highly suggest that if there is a little bit more, knowledge that you want behind this subject, you do your research. And in fact, I would suggest even reading the book. There's a lot of personal examples and personal stories that the author talks about, and other, anecdotal evidence that he puts towards it, and actually backs it through a scientific theory, which I actually think is quite interesting. It talks about how, for one, we don't completely understand the human mind. So for us to not completely understand the human mind and think that we already have it all figured out and we're operating in a certain way that we don't know is naive, which I think is true. It also talks about how by default we've seen physical human thoughts affect water molecules, right? So basically there's a level of connection between the mind and what we're able to physically affect just through our thoughts. There's a lot of studies, a lot of convincing evidence that suggests that our mind does have a certain power and a certain hold over the physical world. Now, it uses that as a basis to say that it is for a fact everything vibrates at a certain level. We send out vibrations. So if we can have a level of controlling these vibrations, of course it's going to affect our surrounding areas and so on and so on and so on. It's actually incredibly interesting. I definitely think you should check it out, especially if you're a non-believer. But outside of that, there's no harm done in basically applying some of the things that you do want to achieve in your life tomorrow, today, start it now, and basically monitor your results. Because the thing is, the best part about it is it's all about building belief. So if you can build belief in the process, there's no way that you're not going to build belief in the result. So, anyways, guys, that was quick notes with Chris. I highly suggest you don't just stop there and you look into more ways to improve yourself and put yourself in a better position to succeed financially. There's a lot of other videos on the channel and a lot more other videos that are coming as well. If you do like what you see, like, comment, subscribe. We're trying a little bit of a new format, so I hope that you can get the best from there. Look on towards our modules that we have coming up, and you'll hopefully be able to apply different ways. But once again, I highly suggest that although this was a quick notes with Chris, you'll always be able to get a better, more personal in touch with the book itself if you read it. It's only 15 minutes a day. Across a period of time, you'll break it out, and who knows, maybe you will be a huge ambassador of The Secret yourself. But other than that, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Alright, I'll see you then.